What's up, Gacha gang? I'm Gacha J, and today we're looking at Punishing Gray Raven. Now, the first things first, you guys got to remember that a 5 means it's average. 5 out of 10 means average. It does not mean that it's below score, it's failing. This is not the American grading system where a 7 means it's passing. 5 is passing. If it's a 5, it means it meets the industry average. With that said, let's dive straight into the ranking. Today, we will be looking at graphics, story, progression, gameplay, uniqueness, monetization, and community. Whereas if a game reaches a 7, it means that it is a game that I very much recommend. If it isn't inside the 6 range, it means that, yeah, it's a really good game. I definitely understand why a lot of people love it. It's not something that I'm going to universally recommend for people to check out, but you know, it's a good game that if I know you a little bit better, I would recommend it to you. A 5 means that, yeah, it's above average game. I can understand why you like it. Anything below a 5 is, it could be very niche to something I just don't recommend at all. So, Punishing Gray Raven. Let's start out with the graphics. The graphics in this game are definitely the strong suit. I clocked it in at a 9. Guys, I really love this art style. I love the way that the animations flow. It is very, very smooth. The only reason why it is getting taken down one extra notch is because a lot of the environments that you're in don't really have that much details to it. And I know for a fact that the models themselves don't have that much detail to it because we use the exact same shader. We use the exact same shader in the game that I'm building. So that's why it looks so freaking good, because we're using the same shader. But it also means that they're skimping you on some of the other aspects of the game. And given that the stages are so short, I'm actually questioning why it's running into so many issues with the optimization portion of this game that they have to take so many steps backwards in all of these other content suits. Anyways, graphics wise, it looks great. If they were to just, you know, put a little bit more detail, a little bit more effort into their environments, then hey, we're good. Story wise, I clocked it in at a 7. If you guys have followed my Twitch at all, you would actually know that I think that this game is a knockoff of Girls Frontline in terms of its story. A lot of the characters are designed in the exact same way. A lot of the stories concepts are the exact same. I mean, even the way that they go about forming the different squads and executing those squads and the overall arching goals, they all feel very close to the same. The only real thing that I like about Punishing Gray Raven compared to Girls Frontline is that Punishing Gray Raven actually uses dudes. But overall, I think that Girls Frontline has a much stronger story with better writing and better character development. Punishing Gray Raven is kind of really intentionally going after a conglomerate of all of these different types of games between Honkai Impact, Girls Frontline, and a vast amount of other games to come together and create Punishing Gray Raven. So yeah, the story it's pretty good. You could definitely get involved in it and you can enjoy it. You could learn to enjoy the characters, and some of it's actually pretty funny, but overall I would say that it's an above average. Don't get me wrong, 7 is an above average story arc. In my opinion, there's a lot to want out of the progression system. I don't really like games where different skins of a character actually turn into different rarities, and the different rarities have different skills as a whole. I understand why they do that from an IP point of view and also from a base model point of view, and animation and a rigging point of view, but I personally just don't like it. So progression wise, it feels a little straightforward. A lot of the builds that you would actually go for these characters are already set in stone. There's a 4-star weapon that's guaranteed for a character. There's a 5-star and a 6-star, and there's really not many other choices when it comes to that. A lot of the progression decisions that you make are not very build dependent outside of the memories, which are kind of already optimized for you anyways, but in just where you're allocating those resources to get the most out of the game. Given that you only need to focus on 2 or 3 characters to really get through the game, it's really not that hard of a decision what you're putting your resources into. So even though I think the progression is fun, it's a 7, not a 5, reminder, I don't think that it's that great of a progression system. I think that you can find more than enough enjoyment out of it. But I think the progression system really makes the gameplay, which we're going into next, shine. And I put the gameplay at an 8. I really enjoy the fighting in this game. The animations are incredibly smooth. The game feels pretty responsive. Sometimes when you're using an emulator compared to your phone, you actually feel the difference because the emulator isn't able to take as many inputs as the mobile phone is. So yeah, that's a little bit of an issue as well, but overall, The one thing that's keeping the gameplay from being higher than this is the stages are incredibly short, and the battles that actually feel long, which are the co-op battles, you don't really know what's going on most of the time. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a healing orb. Gotta get in that. So even though I love the fighting and I love the actual animations, how they sync together, the different synergies that you can pull off, I don't think that it's executed at its maximum potential. I think games like Honkai Impact and Genshin Impact definitely pull off the system a lot better. I do love the pacing of Punishing Gray Raven compared to Genshin Impact, but the actual stages themselves hinder the gameplay from being higher. But you're really going to enjoy it at an 8. I mean, that is very high. That an 8 score is very high. Now, uniqueness, I'm slotting it at a 7. It does have its very specific feel to the game. You're not going to mistake Punishing Gray Raven for another game. When you're playing it, when you're looking at it, when you're reading it, you know it's going to be Punishing Gray Raven. However, it is kind of borrowing a lot of attributes from a ton of games around it, and it's not really bringing anything truly new to the table, both in terms of combat, progression, story. Yeah, the art design is kind of newish. But overall, guys, I think that it's unique. You're going to feel like it's itself, but you're not going to go out of your way to find it just because of the way that the game feels, the way that the game looks, and the way that you just attach yourself to the brand of this game. I think that it's strong, but not the strongest that there is in the industry, like something like FGO or Honkai, Genshin, Guardian Tales. I don't think that this game really sticks out to you in terms of uniqueness. Now let's look at the one area that everybody's probably gonna be looking at this review for the most, and that's the monetization. Yes, guys, I did not slaughter this game's monetization. I gave it a 5, okay? A 5. Now, for a lot of you that look at the different monetization schemes that went across, the dollar difference and things like that, yeah, I mean, some of these things you could say is shady. You could say it's a little scummy, but when it all comes down to it, this game is actually pretty industry average when it comes to its monetization schemes. I don't really feel like they're out there for your wallet like a lot of other games are. I think the pity systems in this game are actually really nice. Yeah, you might not get the 5 and 6 stars that you want, but you can kind of universally use them to ascend and residence other items out there. So I don't think that the monetization is terribly bad. You can enjoy this game, especially since it's a PvE versus PvP game, from that point of view, and really get a lot out of it as a free-to-play player. I don't really feel like you're going to miss a ton as a free-to-play player. Yeah, you might not get some of the skins, but skins should be kind of a pay-to-play thing anyways. So I think that this game is pretty industry average when it comes to monetization. I know a lot of you are going to hate that, but it really is what it is. Now let's look at the community. I think the community started out a little bit higher. I think a lot of the drama that came into this game's release actually pushed the game a little bit lower, and we're going to see the test of time if it continues to grow. I'm kind of hesitant to think that it can even maintain a 7. I think it's going to drip closer to the community average. But right now, it's hot, it's fresh, a lot of eyes are on it, a lot of content creators are on it. So the community's kind of popping. Overall, guys, Punishing Gray Raven slots in at a 7.14. For those of you that haven't been paying attention, that's actually very strong. A 5 is industry average. A 7 is a game that I recommend. So yes, I do recommend you check out Punishing Gray Raven. I think it's a pretty strong game that has a lot of fun to it. I don't know if I would go over the top when it comes to making this your #1 game, but I think you can get a lot out of just playing this game for like an hour at a time when you're on the toilet and you just beat something up. I think Punishing Gray Raven offers a lot to the table. Other games that slotted in at a 7.14 include Regalia Lost and Another Eden. 2 of those are my most beloved games in this industry. So that is saying a lot, and that is a very high praise for Punishing Gray Raven. Now, a lot of people would want to know where it slots in compared to My Hero Academia, and My Hero Academia gets a 6.85 in my last tier list, and it's actually going to be trending down from that. So I would say that Punishing Gray Raven is probably a solid half a point higher than My Hero Academia, and that would put My Hero Academia in the 7 Deadly Sins and the Langrisser range, maybe even as low as the Dokkan Battle range. So Punishing Gray Raven, I would say it is a step above My Hero Academia. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Be sure to keep tuning in. We got a lot on the horizon. Peace.